Hey, and welcome back to part 3 of my King Tiger from Takom build review. It is kit number 2047S. I'll put a picture of it up and you guys can see that. So basically, the first part I went over the sprues. The second part I went over the book and some issues I found in the book. And now I did a couple of live streams on the channel that I basically built a lot of this live. But now I'm going to go over. I've done basically all the way through step 14, and then I have all the sub assemblies through 15 through 28. So we're going to take a look at what we have here. So, starting at the beginning, as I told about in the part 2, want you to do the tracks on a hull that is not ready yet. But come to a situation in step 4. Now, I'm going to compare this to Takom's Panthers because I've built a few of them and I like the way they work. Let's talk about the axles and the torsion bars, because this comes into play on step 1. You get these track jigs here, and basically these are used to build your track, and that's what they're called for in this book. But also in a Panther kit, these track jigs are also used to line up the suspension arms, and basically it lines up, it slips on like that. But it doesn't call for that in this step, but it would be nice to have to get them nice and lined up, and I'll talk about how I did it in a minute. But it has you putting on B14 and B15 in the beginning, and if you put those on, which there's no reason to because they don't serve any purpose at this point, you can't put the alignment jigs on anymore. So if you leave off B14 and 15, you can use these alignment jigs to align all your suspension arms perfectly straight. So that's the first thing. I would recommend leaving these off and coming back to it. I didn't do that because I didn't catch it. Because when I flipped through the book the first time, it didn't call for using these to align the suspension arms, and they are keyed in there, but they're a little loose. So this all went down no problem. All this stuff went down. This R50 is your hydraulic or your grease points for your torsion bars. That's a little flimsy, but once you get some more steps later down the road, it goes in easier. I recommend putting that on, holding off putting that on until the side is actually in. And then the same over here with Q13. Once it's in there and you get some stuff around it, it's easier to place in. As long as all your cross members are perfectly 90 degrees to the floor, you'll have no problem placing these in. No problem at all. They go in pretty well. All these little parts, there's really no issue. Everything just fills out. You know, choose the paint at your own discretion. You can leave all this in sub-assemblies, paint it, put it all in however you want. This section here, which is this handle and these two braces, that has to go through there, and it has to go all the way through in order for this to sit on top of here, and these two glue down, and then this will lock in. So it's a little tricky in that section on that regards. So, but it was no big deal. Then we come to a little bit more stuff. Then we come to the torsion bars. Like I said, every other one is different. You have an A and a B. The fit from the axle to the torsion bar is very, very loose. It's not even a tight fit at all. It just falls right out. So I basically just glued them, slipped them in, didn't glue this joint right here until I had all the torsion bars in. And because I couldn't use the jigs, I placed it on a flat surface and I placed weights on it to hold it level and after flooding it with extra thin. So my torsion bars should all be level. Again, it has you building the drive sprocket and installing it. Don't do that because you need it for the tracks, and you can't make the tracks until later steps down the road. So I'll point out where that point is. So you can build the drive sprocket, just do not attach it to the tank. Otherwise, track assembly would be a nightmare. Moving on to 11, 12, and 13 is your basically showing you how the lower hull should look. And then you have the wheels, the escape hatch here, these little parts here. A7, yeah, they're on the sprues with 2 sprue gates, and I've tried cutting one off with my 123 Tamiya, and they just disintegrated. And then I tried a hobby knife, and again it disintegrated. So I would recommend replacing them with wires. I don't have anything on mine. I could put copper on there, but it's just a build review. Then you come to your first photo wedge part, which is built a little less than a 90-degree angle, but it fits in really nice with some super glue, and it looks pretty good. So no problems there. Pedals go in with no issues. A little tricky on the seat, which I have here. These pieces are extremely small and they bend very easily, but I guess it could have made it so it could move, but I did not make it that way because there was really, no, I wasn't getting into that. It's probably possible you could, but that's not something I was getting into. So that's all ready to be installed. I do the sub-assemblies because everything needs to fit in the back with no issues. So that's why everything's in sub-assemblies. And then I have the back panel here. And then I went ahead and I built the transmission, which is here. No issues with that going together. I've test fitted it. Everything lines up. It fits in there. That'll be ready to install. The drive shaft has been built. It is. That's a good. Oh, that's right. I got my wheels and drive sprockets, and then I got my drive shaft and my idler suspension, and my so that's ready to go. And once I get the back panel in, the rear bulkhead in, so I'm going to be doing that. All this is ready to go. And then I started on the engine because I want to make sure it fits in between the bulkheads. And that's basically where I'm at. I got the engine here. I had a little fit issue here, and that was 100% my fault. I was helping my son do math, and I temporarily glued the piece under it, and I didn't have it pressed down far enough. And by the time I got back from the math problem, it had dried enough to where it was pretty bad. I added some extra thin, and I got it to work a little bit better, but it's holding in there. On these brackets, I made sure they aligned with the lower hull, so I wouldn't have any fit issues there. But it does fit. It does fit into the back. I just need to put the sidewalls in, make sure everything lines up. Now these pieces here on step 27 and 24, 41, Q41 and Q30, so not 41, Q23 and R10 and Q36 and R9. I leave these off until after the engine is installed with the bulkheads, because after you install the bulkheads, they have to line up with the side of the hull to facilitate connection points. So I leave those off and I add those in at the end. It's a little tricky, but with a pair of tweezers you can do it. So, and then of course Q4 and Q42 are super tiny pieces that after the engine's installed and the back's all in, I just pop those in. So, alright, so that is where we are. in this build review. In the next review, and then, where's it at? You build the idler wheel up here. Yes, here it is, step 19. You build the idler wheel, so I now have the idler wheel and the drive sprockets, so I can now place these on the track assembly jig, and I can start with the tracks. So I'm going to do the tracks, and I'll probably do a separate video and add it to the next video. So I'll have the tracks all built. I'm going to hold off on putting them on because I know I'm building this as a build review for a store, but I will I might paint the outside, so I'm going to try to leave the tracks off as long as possible, get the whole inside done. So that is basically this. And then the wheels, I've cleaned up all the wheels, I've glued them together and sanded them. So I've got an interesting tip on Facebook about putting them in a mandrel and spinning them with like a Dremel and sanding them that way. Since I build a lot of German tanks, that is something I'm definitely going to look into. So that will do it for this King Tiger from Takom with full interior, kit number 2047. This is build review part 3. I hope you enjoyed it and you stay tuned. There should be only two or three more, like 2 build ones, and then a final overall review of covering everything and how I feel about the kit. So I know it's not painted and there's not, you know, how does it work painted and things like that, but you know, they wanted this done in about a month, so I wanted to get it done. Alright, thank you guys so much for Crazy Gamer Models. I am the Crazy Gamer. Have a fantastic day.